If you've ever not gotten the deal, or you've ever not had someone believe in you, you've been doubted because of the way you look, how old you are, how young you are, what gender you are, where you're born, where you're not born, the way you dress, the way you look, the way you talk, then the question isn't whether that bias is true, because it may absolutely be true. But the question is, what do we do about it anyways? And how can we confront the other alternative reality that might be true, which is, what if you're just not good enough? Now what? There was a lady who made a post and she said, I quit my job to start doing this because my boss didn't respect me because I was a woman. And so because of that, I quit my job to start doing this. And I had this immediate thought in my head, what if you're just not good enough? That was the thought that came through my mind when I read that message. And it got me fired up because the amount of times in my life that I've seen this victimized mentality hurt people is far more than it has ever helped. And so the reason I want to talk about this is because it applies to employees and applies to business owners. And I have so many stories of this that I want to drive through this. And then I want to drive to the two natural conclusions that end up coming from logic. All right. And so this is the same thing as the kid who says, hey, I started this marketing agency and I've got these services and I'm trying to get these business owners and they're saying, well, they're not buying from me because I'm a kid, right? I'm too young, right? I had a family member who had a restaurant and he opened it up in the wrong part of town. And he was like, well, my restaurant's not working because people don't want to come to this side of the neighborhood. They have bias against this side of the neighborhood. And I'll give you another one, which was Jacob, who was my neighbor, my little 15-year-old neighbor from way back when I walked in on him trying to sell a wholesale deal. And he got off the phone and he'd been trying to sell wholesale deals for, a month because he'd read some stuff on the internet, watched some YouTube videos. And I was like, so, how's it working? He was like, well, no one's really, buying yet. And I could tell that on some level, it was because he thought that he was too young and people aren't taking him seriously. So one of our portfolio companies had two people who were in a conflict. All right. So there was a white guy and a black guy, and they were peers. And they had to work together, and they didn't like each other. And so finally, we had to be like, y'all need to get along, figure it out. And so the white guy sends the black guy a song, and it's his way of trying to make amends. And the song was a rap song, and it had some lyrics in it that offended the black guy. And he said, this is not racially sensitive, blah, 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 blah. And he then asked for the white guy to go through racial sensitivity training. And here's where this gets interesting. The black guy is married to a white girl and has mixed kids. And the white guy is married to a black girl and has mixed kids. Do you think he fucking needs racial sensitivity training? No. He just doesn't like you for the content of your character. And so there's a very significant possibility that it might not be because you're too young. It might not be because you're black. It might not be because you're a woman. It might not be because you're a Republican. It might not be because you're a Democrat. It might not be because you're trans. You just might not be good enough. And the thing is that even if you're right, even if there is a fucking bias, because biases will exist. I'm not even going to deny that. They absolutely exist and they will always exist. And the reason they will always exist is because this is how human beings learn. You learn and you create judgments. To wish for a world that doesn't create bias wishes for a world where humans don't learn. If you go and you're a waitress and you serve a table and it's all people with red faces and those red faces leave you 0 tip, and then you go to a table with green faces and the green faces leave you a big tip, and then you do that again and again and the red faces leave you lower tips, then the green faces and the green faces leave you big tips, what will you do? You will begin to expect that red faces leave you no tip and green faces leave you big tip. Now replace red and green with tall, white, Asian, woman, whatever. The point is that people will learn. And as long as there are stereotypes that exist because people do behave in a certain way, then people are going to learn those things, period. But the thing is let's say you're a red face and you do tip well. And you hate the fact that when you walk to a place, they don't treat you a certain way, right? And the thing is that biases exist everywhere. And I want to be clear here. When I got into the gym space, I was young. I was so young looking that I knew no one took me seriously. And so I lied about being the owner. I lied. So when people came in, I just said, I'm the owner, and I'd worked out a deal that I would potentially earn in my ownership. So I had this whole backstory that I made up in the beginning because I looked so young that no one would believe that I was the one who owned the gym. And so I'm saying this because I get it. And to be fair, I look the way I look. If I have a tank top on, like we moved into a very nice penthouse, my neighbors immediately complained about me. He literally sent to the email to the front desk of the building and said, what is this, Beverly Hillbillies who moved in next to us? I'm not kidding. And so the thing is that, I mean, I thought it was fucking hilarious. I died. I thought it was great. But the thing is that, what does that mean? He has a bias against people who look like me, right? Who wear wife beaters and walk around like that on a regular basis. And he thinks, wow, this guy, I've had negative experiences with people like him. And so the thing is I have a friend from college way back when, black guy, and he hated that there was a stereotype that black people don't tip. He hated it. And so rather than try and say, this is unfair, the world is unfair, this bias exists, you know what he did? He was always really nice and he always over-tipped. That was what he did. He over-tipped. Because the thing is that let's play out the scenarios. You bitch and moan and you say, you know what? This person didn't buy because I'm young. This person didn't buy because I'm a woman. This person didn't buy because of whatever. And the thing is let's say you do some empirical study and you prove it right. Now what? Great. You prove that you have a disadvantage. Okay. Again, now what? Hey, if you want to get around people who are actually winning, who look like you, who smell like you, who talk like you, and are doing what you want to do, I'd like to invite you to the Skool Games community at skool.com/games. I take calls in there. I put content that's like this and more personalized inside of that community. And I drop a huge amount once a month, an 8-hour training on how to actually take this stuff and win anyways. And so if that's interesting, skool.com/games, see you in there. And so if all this school stuff sounded interesting to you, I do have an easy offer for you. You can go to skool.com/games. And what we have inside for you is we have 3 calls a week with guys who are actually making tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on Skool, using the platform, teaching you exactly what they did step by step. So we've got calls for you of other people. We've got a community of others to help you out. And I think the benefit here is that you get people who are both starting with you at zero, but people who are also at the end of the race cheering you on. And so you kind of have like 3 types of accountability. So you've got peer accountability, you've got kind of like coach accountability because people are rooting for you, but then you also have alumni accountability, people who've already been through it. And then I made a course that I put in there. It's free. It just shows you how to do this, the different ways to play the game, the different kind of like avatars that you can self-select. Maybe I'm somebody who likes making content. Maybe I'm somebody who's better at ads. Maybe I'm somebody who already has an audience. Maybe I'm somebody who likes outbound. Maybe I'm somebody who likes to have a partner. So I break down all the different paths that you can use to really start making money on the internet with what I think is the easiest business model out there. The best part, in my opinion, is that all of this stuff, obviously we have the prizes, the top 10 get to fly out, so hopefully you can do that. But you only need 3 people, and I just did a 1-day full deep dive. It's 8 hours of me just helping the top 10 communities scale, and those recordings are live right now. So if I had a $100,000 mastermind or something, this would be it, except it's yours and it's free. And here's my incentive for you. If you just get 3 people into your group. All right, so I like to put like as low as I possibly could. You get 3 people into your group, you can get your friends in there. I don't care if you cheated, it's fine. Get 3 people into your community, and you get all the downloads from that. And all of this stuff, you can start for free for 14 days, just so you can get a feel for it. You can go in there, download everything, and steal it all for all I care. All right, but my hope is that you actually use it so you can make your first dollar. And I will just repeat this one stat because I think it's the most important stat I think of the business right now, is that 30.4% of people who finish their first month of the Skool Games make their first dollar online.